All right, as I said, thanks to everyone for being here tonight. This is the Pharr Tennis Center Art in Public Places Project Artist Information Meeting. I'm Alex Herrera, and I'm a project manager with Art in Public Places with the City of Austin. We're excited to have you guys all here tonight to hear more about the Pharr AIPP project. I want to quickly acknowledge some other staff members who are here supporting tonight's meeting. There's Kurt Getman, AIPP Senior Project Manager, Anna Bradley, AIPP Senior Project Manager, and Penny Rodriguez, who is our Cultural Arts Division Communications Expert. So thank you to them for joining us tonight as well. We are recording the meeting, so I've turned off the video and also the sound for public participants in order to just get that recording looking really clean and easy to watch later on. We're going to post a recording of the meeting online on AIPP's opportunity page. And I should also be emailing a link out to the recording to everyone who registered on Eventbrite. So hopefully all of you will get the link to be able to watch this meeting again if you need to later. Today we're going to cover some general information about the AIPP program, background on the Pharr Tennis Center AIPP project, and how to apply for the project. I'm going to take half an hour to go over the Pharr presentation, and then we'll have a session for question and answer, and we'll be taking your questions at that time. So please feel free to type your questions into the chat at any point during the meeting. And if you do it in the early period, we'll circle back to your questions in the chat once we get to the Q&A later. So if you're not super familiar with Zoom and you are joining the meeting from a computer, you can always go down to the bottom of your screen and hit that chat button, and that'll pull up the chat window for you. You can type your questions in there. Make sure you're chatting to everyone so everyone can see all the questions. And if you're tuning in from your mobile device, you can find the chat by hitting participants and then chats, and then again, type your questions into the window that pops up there and make sure that you're chatting to everyone. Okay, so a little bit about the Art in Public Places program. Art in Public Places, also known as AIPP, is a program of the Cultural Arts Division with the City of Austin's Economic Development Department. AIPP is funded by a citywide ordinance that sets aside 2% of eligible capital improvement project budgets. Those eligible projects include things like the creation and renovation of city libraries, parks, fire stations, and in the case of the Pharr Tennis Center project, tennis centers. And Pharr is actually run by the Parks and Recreation Department. So once a permanent artwork is created through the Art in Public Places program, it goes into the City of Austin's public art collection. There are over 325 public artworks in the collection right now, and you can see the locations for those works on the map here. Here are some examples of works in the collection. As you can see, there's a diversity of forms, material, scale, and a mixture of exterior and interior pieces. If you'd like to find more information about how AIPP is funded, or the Percent for Art Ordinance, or the work of AIPP, you can always visit the website austincreates.com. And the entire AIPP collection is also listed on publicartarchive.org, and you can explore Austin's public art collection more there. And as always, you can always feel free to reach out to AIPP staff as well. So now we'll move on to the specific information for the Pharr Tennis Center, a little bit about its background, as well as the renovation project and the AIPP project. The Pharr Tennis Center is located on traditional Tonkawa and Comanche land. It's part of the City of Austin's District 9 and is in the Cherrywood neighborhood, which is adjacent to the Mueller development. In 2018, the surrounding census area, which is part of the Cherrywood neighborhood, reported that 95% of area residents identified as white, alone or in combination, 4% as Black, alone or in combination, 5% as Asian, alone or in combination, and 20% as Hispanic or Latino. The adjacent area of Mueller, which is right across Airport Boulevard from Cherrywood and Pharr, is slightly more diverse, with about 77% identifying as white, alone or in combination, 10% as Black, alone or in combination, 12% as Asian, alone or in combination, and again, 20% Hispanic or Latino. Pharr is one of the City of Austin's 4 municipal tennis centers. It offers year-round tennis play and comprehensive programs for people of all ages. It was built in the 1970s, and the courts are at the end of their lifespan now, hence the need for renovation. An important aspect to consider about Pharr is that it is used by the surrounding community, but it's also used by tennis players from all over Austin. So some people will, or the typical municipal court user will travel like 15 to 30 minutes to get to the court, so they can come from all around. And some tennis groups that are affiliated with Pharr include the Austin Tennis League, Austin Tennis Net, Central Texas Tennis Association. So there are a lot of specific groups that also use the facility. The Pharr Tennis Center renovation project is being run by the City of Austin's Parks and Recreation Department and Public Works Department. The renovation project seeks to, again, renew the 40-plus-year-old tennis courts and the pro shop building on the facility with new improvements. Some of the planned improvements are listed here on the screen and include resurfacing the courts, updating the lighting, and addressing some drainage issues on site. The funding for the renovation capital improvement project was provided by a 2018 bond. And then as far as the timeline for the renovation project goes, that team is currently in its design phase and is looking to start construction mid-2021 and actually complete construction at the end of next year. So it's a relatively short project. And ideally, the art project would wrap up around the same time. So hopefully the AIPP project would also be done at the end of 2021. To give you a look at the tennis center, here are a couple images from in and around Pharr. You can see some of the courts and bleachers, as well as the pro shop on the bottom left-hand corner. And then top left is kind of the walkway between Wilshire Boulevard and Airport Boulevard, which again are like adjacent to the facility. Pictured here is a site plan for Pharr for the renovation. This is to give you just a bird's eye view of the center and to illustrate at least one possible location for the artwork. There has been talk of potentially incorporating the art into a gate that's going to be, or a secondary gate that's going to be for entering and exiting the facility, like right off of Airport. But that's just an idea at this point. The artwork could also be potentially incorporated into a shade structure, or it could be freestanding as well. Ultimately, the final location of the artwork is going to be decided upon in a conversation between the selected artist, city staff, and the community. You can also review this, this plan shown on the left in the application. There's a link to it in the additional resources. Oops. And the art budget for this project is $30,000. Okay, on to the goals for the artwork. This is an important part. So the following artwork goals were drafted based on community feedback given during an online meeting and an online survey this June. So by achieving the project goals established by the community of Pharr, the artwork is going to have the best chance of really benefiting the community that it intends to serve, which is Pharr. So the goals for the Pharr project are that the artwork One represents the energy, activity, and camaraderie of tennis through inspiring or vibrant design. So you can kind of interpret that as you may. Showcases the unique character or history of the surrounding neighborhood park or the tennis facility itself. Creatively embodies the diversity and culture of Austin, especially East Austin, and is safe, easily maintained, and vandal resistant in an exterior environment. So these are the goals for the project, and there's something good to keep in mind as you're completing your application, specifically when you're filling out your short answers to the couple of narrative questions that are on the application, which I will go into a bit later. All right, artist eligibility, or who can apply for this project. So in order to apply, you need to be a professional artist or artist team, which to us means you just have some sort of body of work. You need to be at least 18 years old, and you need to live in Austin's 7-county metropolitan area, which includes Williamson, Travis, Bastrop, Caldwell, Hayes, Burnett, and Blanco counties. You won't be eligible for this project if you are a full-time permanent employee with the City of Austin, if you are an employee of a project consultant or sub-consultant on the renovation, or if you have an active contract with AIPP right now. So if you're already engaged in a project with AIPP. All right, the artist selection. So the call opened on September 5th, and it's going to stay open for about 2 months. A 3-person jury made up of visual arts professionals will be advised by community members and stakeholders to choose finalists for the project. Those finalists will be interviewed by the jury and project advisors, and then that team will select an artist and an alternate to recommend as a best fit for the opportunity. And an alternate is always chosen just in case the selected artist is unable to complete the commission contract. And that jury and the project advisor's recommendation will go to the 2 bodies that have oversight over the AIPP program, which are the AIPP panel and the Austin Arts Commission, for their approval. And then the approved artist will come under contract with AIPP and be able to get started on their work. All right, who will be on the jury? For most open calls, again, AIPP hires a jury of artists and visual arts professionals, typically local, who bring relevant knowledge to each particular project. A 3-person jury will be convened to recommend an artist and alternate for Pharr. So shown on the top half of the slide are probable jurors for this project. And on the bottom, you can see the project advisors who are available to consult on the artist selection and throughout the project in its entirety. So we have a couple project managers from the Parks Department, the other project manager who's managing the renovation project from Public Works. And then we've got 3 community members who all play at Pharr, 2 of whom live in the area. And then we've got our AIPP panel liaison and our arts commissioner as well. Here's the overall timeline for the project, which is tentative. So again, the call was released on September 5th. We're holding the artist information meeting today, September 23rd. And then applications are going to be due on October 29th. Artist selection should take place in November with approval in December. And then a kickoff meeting for the artists to meet city staff, the project advisors, and the community members who are advisors will take place in January of next year. The artist is going to have 2 months to carry out their own community engagement process, which will inform their design for their artwork. And then they'll be designing between that community engagement portion through April and then through June, with hopefully approval for their final design coming in June. And then fabrication takes place July through September with installation in October 2021. And again, we are hoping to close out this project at the end of next year, keeping on track with the renovation schedule itself. Okay, So how do you apply? AIPP only accepts online applications through publicartist.org. Our direct, the link to our direct site on Public Artist is publicartist.org/Austin AIPP. And if you go to that URL, you'll land on this page from which you'll be able to scroll down to open calls and click onto the Pharr Tennis Center application. It'll bring you, well, that link will bring you directly to this application, and you'll need to log on to publicartist.org into your publicartist.org account to actually fill out the application. If you don't already have an account with them, creating one is free. In your application, you're going to upload and include a resume of your work experience as an artist, 10 images of artworks with descriptions. These can be detailed images of artworks as well. So you can, you don't need 10 examples of artworks. You could choose like 3 artworks or 4 artworks and have multiple images for each. You're going to include 3 contacts for reference. You don't need a letter of reference. You just need like name, email address, phone number, some way to get in contact with each reference. And then you're going to be asked to fill out 4 answers. No, sorry, you're going to be asked to complete answers to 4 questions. And these are in lieu of a traditional letter of interest. We're hoping, we're kind of switching over to this method where we just do targeted questions. And we're hoping this is like an easier, more targeted way for you, for the applicants to present themselves to the jury. And hopefully it's easier to fill out than writing a whole letter. So the questions that we have for Pharr include, 1, what does the jury need to know about you to better understand you and your work as an artist? For example, like how long have you been working as an artist and in what media, and what's your public art experience? Number 2, what excites you about the Pharr Tennis Center public art project specifically? Number 3, what's your connection to the Pharr community? And then I guess outside of that as well, are you familiar with the surrounding community and its history and heritage, even the history and heritage of East Austin? And then 4, as an artist, what role has community engagement or social practice played in your work? If you haven't worked with community in the past, are you interested in doing so now, and why? And then again, as you're answering these questions, I would definitely go back and reference those goals, be thinking about those goals, and be thinking about how it's, you know, natural for you to bring in the goals into your answers to those questions. The final part of the application is a demographic survey. The City of Austin is committed to facilitating more access to viewing, creating, and decision-making around public art. In order to make that a reality, we are asking applicants to complete 5 demographic questions. Please answer the survey in the application as you're able to. You can also choose not to answer these questions if you prefer by selecting the prefer not to answer option on each question. So if you're taking anything away from this meeting, here are the important highlights to remember. 1, you can apply via publicartist.org/Austin AIPP by the Pharr deadline, which is October 29th at 5 p.m. Number 2, your short answers are really important, and don't forget to reference the goals in your answers. Number 3, be sure to highlight your connection to the community. You can share your interest, your experience and or interest in engaging with the Pharr Tennis Center community as well. And 4, you're applying, don't forget that you're applying with your qualifications as an artist. We're not asking for you guys to submit a proposal at this point. And then finally, AIPP staff, including myself, are always here to help you as you're applying to projects. However, if you have technical issues with your application or like having issues uploading something, you can reach out to us, but it's also good to reach out directly to publicartist.org because they are more knowledgeable kind of on the back end of things and technical side of things. And you can email them at info@publicartist.org or call the number on the screen. It's also listed on their website. And then finally, before we get to the Q&A portion, I did want to mention some other calls that AIPP has open right now, or that we're planning to launch soon. So the first of these is the Austin Fire Department / Austin Travis County Emergency Medical Services Embedded Artist Opportunity, which is open right now and actually closes pretty soon. So this is a call to hire 6 local artists or artist teams to create works across 12 stations in Austin. And the artists kind of receive a benefit of being embedded with their assigned stations, possibly taking part in activities like ride-alongs, depending on COVID restrictions. But it is an opportunity for 6 artists to be hired, which is pretty exciting. And the budgets for each artist are $100,000. So the deadline to apply for this one is October 1st by 5 p.m. And again, the application is also listed on publicartist.org/Austin AIPP. And then we have a couple of other calls coming soon. So the first 2, AFD, EMS, and Pharr, we just went over, but we're also planning on launching a $100,000 opportunity with the Austin Convention Center warehouse, a $104,000 opportunity at Barton Springs as well in the next couple months. And we also have the call for the 2021 to 2023 pre-qualified artist pool coming up as well. And that pool is just a tool that's utilized for certain AIPP projects over the next couple of years. And so again, we haven't released those last 3 yet, but they will be coming soon. So stay tuned to our social media channels, and all those calls will be on publicartist.org as well. Okay, so finally, we've gotten to the question and answer portion of the meeting. If you don't feel comfortable asking questions now or have a question later, you can definitely reach out to me. My contact information is listed on the screen. Please feel free to email me. You can also call me and leave me a message, and I will give you a call back. And yeah, so I'm here as a resource for you guys, just in general, but specifically for the Pharr project as well. So I will turn my video back on. Do I know how to do that? Let's see. Okay. Let me share that screen. And then Kurt Getman is going to help me out by helping
giving you the questions.
Build questions. Yes, thank you. Thanks, Kurt. And I'll pull up that last slide again. Sorry.
So the first couple of questions that we got during the presentation have to do with eligibility. And the first one here is from Indu Anish, and I hope I pronounced that correctly. And the question is, I work for Austin Energy. May I still participate?
Maybe, Kurt, you probably know the answer to this. I think if you're Austin Energy, then you are technically a city employee. Is that right?
Yeah, if you're a full-time City of Austin employee, if I'm understanding your eligibility correctly, Alex, that you would be ineligible if you were a full-time city employee.
Yeah.
And then the second question from Mindy Graber. I have an art studio in Austin, and I also work a non-art job for the county. Am I eligible as a county employee?
I don't think so. I guess if you are employed by the county, that's a different entity than the city. So you should be eligible, I would think. Feel free to weigh in, Kurt, as well. So
yeah,
I know these are kind of.
I think that's right on the money. It's 2 separate entities, so you'd be perfectly eligible. And then the third question is from Andrew. What exactly does budget per artist mean? Does that mean artist compensation budget for materials?
So whenever we talk about budgets for AIPP, we are talking about a budget that encompasses the whole project. So that would include everything from like your materials to like your fabrication to like any permits you need to like transporting materials to insurance, which you'll definitely need. And I think you can also apply it to overhead as well. But typically on public art projects, you can be expecting to be paying yourself between 15 and 20% of the overall project budget.
And more if you're doing your own fabrication.
Yeah, yeah.
And a question from Rocky Jane. Hi, Rocky. Hi, Kurt and Alex. Are there more detailed plans of the Pharr renovation available right now? I'm wondering if the artwork can be extended into the office spaces. Will those be renovated?
So they are in the architect firm and the architecture firm and like Public Works and Pard are in the process of getting those designs finalized at this point. So there are other drawings and other site designs, but there's nothing that like kind of looks quite as nice as that the one I used in the presentation, which is kind of color coded. So I guess that answered that part of the question. So I don't have anything that is like, you know, as finalized, you know.
Okay.
As
No.
that. Okay.
Okay.
And so I think that, so the only building on site is the pro shop, which is, it's got like bathrooms and like a shower and other places. I think that like people can like restring their rackets there as well. And that is being renovated as well.
Okay. I think there's like people that answer the phone there for reservations and stuff. Is that the same building? Okay.
I think it should be, yeah. But I think there's only one building on site.
Okay.
So potentially, it would be, yeah, that like final location decision happens once the artist is selected. But that's a good question about the possibility of incorporating it into the pro shop. I think typically we like to have things with like higher visibility, which usually means like having something outside, but maybe if it was incorporated inside as well, that would be a possibility. That's something I can ask the team about.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense.
Next question's from Felix James. How soon will we be able to see the plans for the renovation? And do we have a say on where the artwork may be placed?
So I'm not sure about when the plans, like the site drawings, are going to be finalized. Let me go back to that, just at least for reference for myself. Yeah, so they are in the design phase now with construction documents like being firmed up in the winter. So I guess kind of between this year and next year, early 2021. So ideally, if we were bringing an artist on board around like November, December, they could start to be being incorporated into those conversations. So it's actually kind of nice to be able to match up with their with the construction schedule in that way, so that the selected artist can be kind of more integrated, ideally, into the renovation plan. We don't have any additional like site drawings available for the application side of the process, mostly just because I don't think they're quite ready yet. And at this point, we're only asking artists to apply with like their qualifications. You can certainly, I guess, be thinking about like, you know, what you might want to do with this space, but we're not asking anyone to like create a proposal at this point. It's mostly just looking at people's past experience, like their familiarity with the area, if applicable, and just their interest in the project, their like, I guess, ideas and identity as an artist, what they're interested in exploring. So it's really, applications are more about like your qualifications rather than like a proposal.
A comment from Karen. Joseph Cristofoletti made the triangle mural painting. That was on the info page with the contact info.
Yeah.
Yes, we're very proud of that one. That one turned out great.
That was actually Kurt's project, managing project.
So I'm being self-congratulatory.
Yeah.
No, actually Joe did all the heavy lifting. I just stood there with a clipboard. Will Hatch Crosby asks, it sounds like the style, scale, and location of art is really open at this point. Will all of this be figured out through working with the renovation team and engaging with the community once the artist is selected?
Yeah, ideally. There were a couple of ideas about like incorporating the artwork into like a gate or the shade structure. But yeah, that ultimate determination of a location is a conversation between the selected artist and the project team and the community members.
That's it for the chat questions, unless somebody else, oh, hey, we got another one. From Mike Reddy, as primarily a mural artist, is it best to apply as part of a team with a sculptor or fabricator since there aren't a ton of walls, aside from the pro shop, which is fairly small?
Yeah, I would say you don't have to apply as a part of a team necessarily, because this isn't a straightforward mural opportunity though. Like we don't have like a wall identified for a potential mural. I don't think it's necessary that you think ahead, but I think it would like be very helpful for you to think ahead about fabricators you might want to work with, potentially to be able to translate like your mural practice into like whether it be printing or etching or something onto a substrate, or like turning it into an entire different form, a different form entirely. Like it might be helpful to think ahead in that way, but it's not necessary for your application. I don't know, Anna or Kurt, would you guys want to speak to that? Like,
I wanted to,
go ahead.
Mike added another question, a sub question. Should a concept like that be included in the application?
I don't think so, no. It's not necessary. You can if you want to, but it's not required.
Hi, this is Anna Bradley with Art in Public Places. I will say quickly that if you're applying as a team, talk about what you all individually bring to the team and can add to the project. If that's a social engagement component or a materials or a design element. So talk about your strong suits as it applies to as a team, even if you haven't worked together before.
Thanks, Anna. That's a really good point.
That's it for the chat.
Awesome. Any final questions? Anyone? Again, a recording of this meeting is going to be posted on the AIPP opportunities page, which is this address, austin/department/AIPP-opportunities. And then I'll also include a link to the posted video and an email to everyone who signed up through the Eventbrite. Awesome. Okay. Well, if there aren't any more questions, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight, and feel free to email me or call me to get in touch if needed. But otherwise, thank you guys so much and have a good night.